Watch the wave wash.
You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good morning. Oh, pardon me. As I lose my voice.
We're finding all the things.
I have 9 minutes to get ready for an interview, and of course, good morning. There we go, ladies, gentlemen, days, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. I hope it's warmer than where I am right now because it's 30 goddamn degrees and it's fucking freezing, and I'm already just. Anyways, I am horribly excited today. So quick little backstory. I checked out the amazing actress that I have on today. I checked out her film I Like Movies because I was going through my Amazon, finalizing the best of for all of you here in the next month or so. And I was like, I watched the trailer and I was like, yeah, this feels like a movie I would love. And yeah, spoiler alert, the review will be up when this interview is live. I dug the hell out of the movie, so I'm really excited that she was able to make time today, and I'm so terrified I'm gonna butcher your name. I apologize if I do. Romina D'Ugo?
That was a baller pronunciation.
There we go.
We cleared the throat and we got the pronunciation.
Yeah, we do what we can here. But thank you so much for making the time to talk to me with me today. Like, thank you. I thought, just to jump in right out the gate, I loved you in this movie.
Oh my God.
I found your portrayal to be beautiful and tragic and depressing in all of the spectrums in between. But before I even get into that, one thing I checked out from your page, because I don't do research really when I do interviews because I like it to feel like a conversation, but I checked out your page and I saw your jewelry line, Wear It Like You Mean It. Can you talk to me about that and the kind of the origins of that? Because that's clearly something that you're like really emotionally invested in. So yeah, can you talk to me about that?
Absolutely. Thanks for mentioning it. It's I've always been, into jewelry and repurposing things since I was a kid, but I never really considered making it a business or even a major hobby. But then I was shooting this series in Mexico. It was like Mexico American co-production right when COVID hit. And it was going to be this like career making gig. And then COVID hit and shut down my production and all the productions. And I was totally out of work, and it was just really a very rough time. I was still grieving the death of my dad who had passed. I felt really uncertain about things, and I needed a place to dedicate my time and energy, and I needed it to be creative, and it couldn't be acting. And so I started making things in earnest for myself, like necklaces or rings or earrings. And I made sure each piece had an intention behind it. Because I wanted to wear the thing, like let's say it was a ring, and I wanted to wear it with a specific intention, like resilience or something. So I could look at the piece and remind myself, like, I'm going to be okay. Anyway, yeah, that's what it came from. It was like a mental health solution, honestly.
Fair.
And then people wanted to buy the stuff I was wearing. And I was like, are you sure? So then I made it this little hobby. I would sell stuff on the side, whatever. And then one day sales really took off, and I needed to hire an assistant. And now it became like a viable fruitful job, and I had to pay someone, and it became a business. So then I started balancing acting and jewelry design, and like both careers have really helped the other.
Hell yeah, I love that.
Thanks.
What was the first piece that you created with intention, and what was the intention behind the piece?
Oh my God, what a great question. I remember what the piece looked like, because I remember thinking, this is so weird. Who would wear this but me? And I made this piece for myself. And to be very honest with you, I forgot the intention behind my very first piece. I know all my current pieces, but that one, I just remember the aesthetic, and it had this like electric blue trail of stones across the front. It was a necklace. And then I had this like hand woven, um, braided yarn as the other part of the necklace to tie in the back. And I
Okay.
wore it for myself. I love that piece. And then someone bought it. Yeah, someone bought it.
So when you're creating the pieces, are you doing it like in a like do you have like a studio? Like so okay, so walk me through creating a piece. Like what's the last piece you created?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the very, very truth. My mom isn't in the greatest health right now.
Mhm.
And I live like a 45-minute drive from her.
Okay.
And I'm so busy. The only way I can really see her with the solution was to build a little studio in her home for where I design my first pieces. So that's where I go to design my first pieces. And then I have a studio where I have another person who hand makes the other pieces that are like repeat pieces.
Gotcha.
So I just made something at her place last week. Um, I like having materials in front of me. I find materials that I love. I don't know how they'll fit together. I'm not really a person who sketches something and then finds the material. I find the material first. I have no idea how it's going to work. It's just something
That's
that my
exactly how
eyeballs
that's exactly how
love.
my brain works. Yeah, no,
Right.
feel that.
It's just like my eyes love it. I just have to have it. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm just going to it's going to find its way. And then once it's all in front of me and I'm there, suddenly like one puzzle piece fits into the other. And then it's this like trance for hours of me making this prototype piece or custom piece. And I made a pair of earrings recently that are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. And I think I only have the materials to make one set. So I think they're going to be like a one of a kind set.
Mm. So what pieces are you rocking today?
Oh, yeah, today. So this is actually it's an aromatherapy line of earrings.
Cute.
So yeah, this is a genuine pearl votive, and you unscrew it, and I give you this custom dropper, and you drop your favorite like essential oil or perfume or whatever. And it's great for like just a little, yeah, gimmick on the go if you want to add perfume. But if you have like anxiety or something, having an essential oil votive attached to your ear that you can use at any time to
Be
like
really nice.
ground you is pretty nice.
Yeah.
So it's multi-purpose, but that's what I'm wearing right now. And then this is from a moon collection, um, silver and pearl. It's called Moon Collection, and it's about a lot about how women's bodies are so connected to the cycle of the moon. It's a very woo woo, but I
Okay.
love this stuff.
So like when you realize like okay, this is no longer just like a hobby. This is something that could be like a tangible business. Where does how do I ask this? How do you keep the motivation for it to still feel artistic but not lose that aspect and the fact that it's a business? Because I do think that art sometimes people feel like it
Yeah,
becomes an obligation and it's no longer in its purest form anymore.
yeah,
So how do you avoid that trap?
right. Like I like they don't want to monetize it because then it loses its
Exactly.
pureness. Well, I still make every prototype and every custom piece I still make. And I decide what I want to make. So there's that element of creativity that will never die. It's always going to be my designs and my vision. So there's that element that's always it's imprinted in that. But then what I realized was the entrepreneurial pursuit of letting my art grow was creative in and of itself, right?
Mm,
Like
okay.
the entrepreneurial the part of my brain that had to evolve and develop to think how do I sell this? What are the platforms? What is the vision of my oh my god, I have a brand. What could it be? Or could it be this? Could it be this? It's all creative. Like
Yeah.
every part of it is creative. So I think the hardest thing is like delegating the bits that really feel like I want to procrastinate that. And like,
Such as what bits? Like, like.
well, okay, well, the hardest one right now, I'm pretty good at delegating stuff like that. But right now, the one that I'm stuck on is the photography element.
Okay.
Because I'm still taking my own photos. Partly because I haven't found the photographer I click with yet for this particular thing. Partly because I still can, and partly because I like it.
Okay, that's so. What kind of are you just using your phone, or are you using like a professional camera? Like, what are you?
I used to use like a professional camera, but I don't. You don't need to anymore. I use my phone. They're
Fair,
great.
fair. Yeah, I'm horrible at delegating shit.
Really?
Like it
Yeah.
like it's always been like because when I see someone messing it up or not doing it
Oh,
the way that I think it should be done, I'm just like, just give it back. Just let me. like, I'm fucking terrible at that. So
yeah. You know what's funny about that? Because of my personality type, I thought that that's what I would be like too. But it
yeah,
turns out I'm worst. I'm the opposite, where I'm just like, oh, here's the thing. Can you take it? Oh, no, you can figure it out. No, you got it. You got it. I totally believe in you. Got it. And the person's like, yeah, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, what do you want me
yeah.
to do?
Yeah, I
Oh.
yeah. So I appreciate the so since you kind of alluded to it, is it like would you just know when you've met your photographer? Like, is it just like do you vibe with people in that way? Like especially when it comes to creating art together, where you just kind of know, or are there certain things that like you look for? Is it a mixture of both? Like,
Well, I look for a personality type that I feel like, yeah, I like enjoy this person's juju. Like I could have a creative call with this person. I could be around them during the shoot and like, yeah, that's first and foremost is like personality blend. But
yeah,
then their body of work is one thing that kind of has me have a meeting with someone. But then it's usually there's a bit of a trial, and they'll trial shoot some of my stuff. And because I've done it myself forever, I have such a specific aesthetic and taste that I think it's hard for people. Like it's sort of like I have to find the right aesthetic match, and I haven't found that.
okay. I mean, but I think for something so unique with jewelry, like that's such a important like cog in the machine, because because the picture is the first thing they're going to see before they see the description or anything else. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
very
so
specific. It's harder than like for me to find a photographer to work with as an actor. Super easy. Find the right juju, find super talented people. I feel like you shoot me well. It's so different. It's yeah.
okay, since you brought up your, so I want to throw it back a little bit,
Yeah.
because I was sitting here the whole movie watching. I was like, I've seen her and stuff, and I remember like the thing I saw you in was 12 Monkeys. That's where my brain immediately went. I was like, yes, okay. But then I was like, no, there's something else. And I remember it was first season of So You Think You Can Dance. And I was like, yeah, that's right. So please, like, so can you talk to me about that experience? Because like that's a like I think people forget how big that show was, especially in the
Huge.
first couple seasons. So
Huge.
what was the audition process like? What was it like getting on TV? Yeah, can you kind of talk to me about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest. It was the day before our city was holding auditions. Two like dance friends of mine and I were hanging out. We were like we did dance competitions together. Really, anyone who does dance competitions or has kids in dance competitions knows it's like really intense. So, but anyway, at this point, we weren't doing dance competitions anymore. But we were talking about this new show we heard about, and like we're like, should like, are you auditioning? Are you auditioning? I don't know. And they were like, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then we talked about it, and I was like, maybe I should audition. And I went home that night and I put together like a routine. I didn't realize people were hiring coaches like for weeks in advance, putting together routines, and
Yeah.
it was such a big deal. And I just didn't realize how big of a deal. The lineup for the audition went literally around blocks and blocks of the city. It was insane. And then they just push you from one like round of auditions to the next. And I remember I got to the very last round, and you had to sign a contract at that point that said, like, I'm going to be on the show now as an auditioner. I've not made it yet as a top 20, but this is an NDA.
Mm.
And I called my agent just to be like, at the time, my agent at the time, and I was like, hey, like, I got to sign this thing. We're good, right? I can just sign this, right? And he was like, don't do this show. And I was like, what do you mean, don't do this show? And
Mm.
he's like, unless you win, there's no point. It gets you nothing.
That's fair.
I, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. And I did it. And it was great for all aspects of my career, my personal growth, my creative growth, exposure, everything. It was an amazing experience. Amazing. Amazing.
What was your biggest take? What's the biggest lesson you learned from doing that show? Because I can just because I remember they would show like the rehearsed, like everyone learning the moves and the routine and all that. And I remember the big takeaway I would always take away is like, God, that looks just like such a grind. Like, because I know you're doing that for hours and it's just a repetition, boom, boom, boom. I mean, obviously you coming from a dance background, but I'm sure that there's levels to this. I'm sure that's just a grind. So like, what was the biggest like positive lesson and negative lesson that you took away from the show?
It was a grind. It was a grind, especially we were all so young. And you're living in a hotel room and you're constantly rehearsing. Um, I think the biggest positive takeaway on a macro level was like, it really doesn't matter who who's the number one in a situation or who's like the ultimate winner in a situation. It's not indicative of what the future holds for anyone. So the job is always to do the best job you can. And it's not like if you didn't get number one or you didn't in this case win, well, that was for nothing. And that, no, something always grows of whatever work you're doing.
So true.
So it was cool. Like the winner was amazing, and the top four were amazing. But it didn't stunt my career that I was whatever girl that got voted off. At the time, it felt like, oh, that this can't be good. It's totally fine. It was great. It was perfect timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So going from dancing and then getting more into acting. I actually remember seeing this in theater or seeing this when it came out. I actually saw Turn the Beat Around when that came out. And I remember that was like when kind of a lot of those movies kind of like Stomp the Yard and like Honey
Yeah.
and like movie like that
I was in
kind of.
Honey. I was in
Were
Honey.
you?
I was one of her dancers that Jessica Alba was like training, quote unquote, training for
Yeah.
the thing
Okay.
that's,
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to go back and watch it now and see if I can and spot
funny.
you.
Triple.
Um, So talk to me about, so I actually saw your post, which actually made me laugh because you said that disco sucks, but that you should still that you should still watch. What's your beef with disco? You don't like disco?
Well, actually, disco sucks is like the cool thing to say, like a slang back then.
Oh, okay.
But it was like everyone loved disco, but you would say like disco sucks. But it was just something that people say. It didn't really mean that you hate disco.
Okay, well, cool. I just dated myself.
Things, no, things you learn from shooting a disco movie, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
What was, so I mean, that's obviously like you're like the star. Like, I mean, you're front and center. That's all you. Um, Going from something like So You Think You Can Dance to this, like, is there a certain different type of pressure you being so more front and center, or were you kind of like, I've been kind of prepping for this my whole career, I got this, like, or was it a mixture of both, or
Well, I was an actor while I was a dancer and before, but not professionally. Like I was just, that's what made me a good dancer was that I was a good actor on stage. So
okay.
it was always part of me that was, you know, like never in question. And I had already decided I wanted to just focus on acting. Um, so it was an incredible opportunity. I was scared. It was my first like real lead, like you said, it was like a starring role. But I was really excited. I was really, really excited. And I remember like I didn't, yeah, when I actually, then when I booked it, I discovered afterward that a bunch of the cast were people from So You Think You Can Dance.
Go figure.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is my point to the first thing that I learned is like, I didn't win So You Think You Can Dance. I mean, I was 22 or something. I didn't know that it was never going to matter, but I didn't win. And then I got this job as the star of this movie, which was incredible for me. And then people who made it far, far, far beyond where I made it. And So You Think You Can Dance, extraordinary dancers, like extraordinary dancers. They played smaller roles in this film, much smaller roles in this film. Like none of it matters. Like it's just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like one job doesn't decide your future capabilities. But so that was another thing that I was like, oh, cool. It's just like a circle of life. We just keep changing it up.
What was the internal conversation like making the decision to be like, because dancing is just like, I don't think people realize how hard dancing is. Like like I've had friends who've done ballet especially, and it is just like it's a fucking like to be able to maintain it and do it at an elite level. And I think the level that most dancers like hold themselves to, it's so difficult. What was that conversation like with yourself where you kind of made that decision to be like, okay, dancing is great, I love it, I'll always love it, but I want to steer more towards acting?
So when I was dancing, like when I was a competitive dancer, and you're right, I mean, it's an insane sport. And people look at dancers like, I think they look at dancers more as artists, which they're really half and half. Like you train like an Olympic athlete when you're trying
Yeah.
to win a dance competition. And like the mental tenacity you have to have. Like it's like you don't like win a dance competition and then you celebrate the win and you take a week off and no, like you win, you put your trophy away and you put your tights on, you get back in the studio first thing in the morning the next day because you have another competition, you have to be even better. Like it's crazy. But it I knew towards the end of my high school career, which was towards the end of my competition career, that I wanted to be an actor because I never had the dream to be a back like a somewhat like an artist's backup dancer because
Okay.
for me it didn't feed into the acting part of what I loved about dance.
Love that.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to be a dancer. And so I thought, well, musical theater, there's dance, there's acting and dancing, but really it's the film and television side of acting that I really loved because I felt like this is just for myself, I could get away with less disingenuineness. Like you have to be very authentic for the camera. And I liked that. It was helpful for me at the time.
Okay. And to your point, especially if like something like I think about like contemporary pieces, like the acting aspect or the dancing aspect really is only half of it because you do have to sell the story that you're telling and you're not able to use, you're rarely talking. Like it really is just your body telling the story. And so I think that's something that's very understated and quite frankly underrated when it comes to dancing, because I've seen some great technical dancers who just can't sell the piece they're in, and that might so that gets us to I like movies. So I it's been out for a bit, so I feel like I can kind of talk more freely. How did you meet Chandler, and how did the script get to you? Because this is one of those scripts where as I was watching it, I was like, I could imagine you reading this and just being like, oh wow, there's some like heavy stuff in here. And I you can kind of tell with your character, you can tell from Lana that there's definitely, like a backstory. But even I was kind of sitting there like, oh, I wonder what the backstory is. And then when it hit me, I was like, oh no, this is way heavier than than I
So it's just
like. I
drop.
thought, yeah, like I thought it would be heavy, but even I was like, oh wow, I underestimated how heavy it was. What was your first initial thoughts after you read the script the first time?
Well, the first time it was just one scene that I got. I didn't get the full script. I just had one
Ooh,
scene to read. And even just that one scene, it was so fun to work on. And it wasn't like a big emotional climax kind of scene. But I just loved it already. And I loved the character already and the dynamic between herself and uh, Lawrence, the 16-year-old cinephile. So I just had a audition tape. I put myself on tape and I sent it in, and it was during COVID. It was the first year of COVID. And then I got a call back. And then when I got a call back, that's when I think I got the script and a few more scenes to prep. And then I was like, oh my God. I mean, just the whole thing. It was just like, it was so easy to metabolize the way Chandler writes. Well, at least the way she wrote this particular story was like, it was just, some people asked if we were like improvising the film because it felt very,
it
I
did.
guess, yeah, but we
Yeah.
didn't. We
Damn.
didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't. It was all her writing. It just feels like very, like a second skin, very, like, real.
Yeah. In terms of the character, I mean, because we've talked about it, where you do. Actually, we haven't talked about it, so I'll throw it out there. I feel like kind of like athletes playing like one of those games where it's just like this draining game, but it's something that will be part of their legacy when they retire. I feel like dancers have to put so much of themselves into their performances in order to sell it, but in order to, I think, get that admittedly self-satisfaction that I think all artists kind of crave. Where for you, giving so much of yourself to dance, how are you doing that as an actress now? Like, because this is a character that is not a one-dimensional character. There's a lot of layers to Alana. So what are you pulling from yourself, like from your personal being, to go ahead and inhabit this character?
For Alana specifically,
Yeah.
I think a lot of her story is relatable. You don't have to have had the exact kind of trauma that she had, but like the pursuit of a dream, especially when you're younger, like you're in high school and you have this dream for yourself of what life will be. And if you have the chops to go after it and you take a lot of risks and you fall on your face, I mean, I think that's just really relatable, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have to pivot. And then what do you do with all that stuff? Like, I think so for myself, I could relate to that, to like going after something, it not coming into fruition, it's sort of like grief. But then the difference between me and Alana is that Alana is someone who like pushed the dream and the grief under the rug and tried to move on past that and like shut down those parts of herself because it was too
Mm,
painful to look at them. I am sort of the opposite. I have to look at the parts because I know that if I try and brush anything under the rug, it's going to be bad, 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 bad for me. So I look at everything. So I just thought about like, imagine if I was a person who did that, that would like, how would that manifest and how would that lead to like stunting of my growth? And I think in many ways she is really like emotionally, maturely stunted.
that's perfect term. Yeah, I think you nailed it there. What was the hardest scene to shoot in the movie?
Okay. I'll just tell you. So, you know how you said like the turning point and you were like, "Damn, that was heavier than I thought it was going to be,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That scene, I also don't want to give too much away, but like you know how it's set up, the setup of that scene. It's just like it's
Yeah.
kind of like a wide shot and there's the two
Yeah.
rows of DVDs and there's nothing else happening. I'm just in the middle there talking, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think we had like two takes of that and we had no rehearsal. Chandler is amazing, and she was telling me from the beginning, like, because you're a dancer and you're so good with like your body and stuff, there's like certain scenes that I really want you to just fill in yourself. And this was one of them. She was like, just she's like, just like play it out, like just like feel it out, just like do what feels right. There was no like blocking of it. So all those isms were very real
Okay.
and in the moment for the character.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were done, I felt like I ruined that scene.
Oh no.
I felt like
Oh.
I was like, wow, that did not do any justice to what Chandler wrote. It just felt so anticlimactic, Joshua, because you shoot it, and it's not like when you shoot it and then they call cut, and then people are like, "Oh my god, let me give you a
Yeah,
hug."
like
That was
standing ovation. Yeah, all
it's
that.
it's an indie film. We need to move on. Like, did you get it? Did you get it? Moving on. Next scene. We're like, let's read through. Like, it is just like, okay. And I just
Oh
so not
no.
just from like not getting the feedback, but like just it was so anticlimactic in shooting it. And we moved
Yeah.
on because that's how it is. Especially shooting
Oh.
an indie where you don't have a lot of money and time is money that you don't have.
Yeah.
I just thought I ruined it. And I went home that night going, how could you do that? Like, how could you do that?
Oh, that sucks.
And it turned out I was wrong. So yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that just made my anxiety go up. You described it. Yeah, that oh god, oh yeah, I wouldn't like that at all. Um last question I have about the movie, because again, I don't want to give too much away. Um since actually, oh, can I ask that without yeah, I can ask that without spoiling. Your character, obviously, they're huge into movies. Um and I love what the answer is for what your favorite movie is in the film. I got a very hard. I was like, okay, that's I kind of love that that's the movie. What
Yeah.
is? I know this is a hard question because when people ask me, I
Oh,
fucking hate. Yeah, you know where I'm going. I love that that's your reaction. What is one of your favorite movies? I'll give you just one of, so you can
okay.
make it. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's brutally hard. Well, I'll tell you the movie that chose me when I was a kid,
Okay.
and then the movie that I chose in my early 20s as my favorite.
Okay.
Because I feel like movies choose us. So the movie that chose me by no choice of my own, it chose me, it was Pretty Woman.
Okay. Nice.
I loved that movie as a little kid, regardless of how inappropriate it
I was about to
is.
say, how old were you when you're watching Pretty Woman?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I was watching The Exorcist and Jaws, I was watching everything. I was a tiny child.
Fair.
Inappropriate. But that's how we rolled back then in those 80s and 90s. But now and then as an adult, I watched, do you know The Postman, Il Postino?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man,
That's a great
that
flick.
killed me. That killed
Yeah.
I love it so much. I think that's my favorite performance of all time. That's why I love the movie.
Really? Okay.
Ah,
Okay. That's okay. See, that's a great answer. So, like, I would say for me,
yeah, what's
so
yours?
to totally piggyback off of what you said, watching
Yeah,
movies you shouldn't have been. So I
yeah.
watched Silence of the Lambs when I was like 4. And, and like
Stop.
and like
Stop.
I remember my parents being like, God damn it, why were you like you weren't supposed to? I'm like, well, like and so like I remember watching it and being so fascinated by Anthony Hopkins and being like still one of my favorite performances
So
to this
good.
day, and
So good.
being like holy shit.
Yeah.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day, just because I
Yeah.
think that is still like one of the best action films like ever made. I rewatch it at least once a year. I'm like, yep, still great.
Wow.
Now, ooh, goddamn.
Hard. It's
Well,
hard.
because I think I've watched, God, I probably watched 200 movies this year. Like it's been a lot this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so like this
Love that.
year, so Baby Girl is amazing. I really enjoyed that, the new Nicole Kidman movie.
Oh, I
Uh,
didn't watch that.
yeah, that's coming out this upcoming week, and that's really great. I've been really into stuff with no dialogue the last couple of years. So there's this anime movie called Robot Dreams
Okay.
That's incredible. You need to watch. I'm on Letterboxd. Me
Box, yeah.
discovering that has become like the worst thing in the world because I'm on there way too fucking much.
It's so good. Yeah. It's the
But
best.
last question I have for you.
Okay.
With all you've done in your career, with a performance that I think is absolutely incredible, and I will be talking this shit up. Like I've already reviewed the movie. I'll tag you when I upload the review, but it's
Yeah.
spoiler, it is glowing of you. I think you're amazing in it.
Oh, thanks.
Um, what do you want to do? Like, what's next for you? Like you're acting, you're creating jewelry. It means a lot to you. Do you want to direct? Do you want to like what do you
Oh
acting
God.
wise? What do you want to do next? Like, what are your goals?
There's so much. There's so much. Okay, so I'm already writing. So I just finished a pilot that I've written. I've just finished my first full complete draft. So that's already in the works.
Hell yeah.
I would produce it myself. I hopefully it gets made by the time that I'm age appropriate still. Well, I don't know, we'll see. But I definitely want to produce more, and I think that's because of my work with WILYMI, my jewelry brand. It taught me so much about the creative business side of things,
Yeah.
and I could see myself doing that for film. Um, and so there's a couple projects in the works there for producing as well. And then as an actor, honestly, Joshua, I feel like I spent so many years wishing I worked more, and I've been working more, and
Yeah.
I just feel like it's insatiable. Like every role that I get to play is so much fun. Like I cannot get enough. Like there's nothing else I can do for 15 hours in a row, like 6 days a week. There's like nothing else I can do for that many, because that's how long a shoot day is sometimes when
Yeah.
you're a huge character. So I'm just excited to get more work. I just love it so much. Like I'm crazy about it.
Now I am gonna be that person and ask. And by the way, age appropriate, I still think you look like 22.
Hey girl.
Just saying. Are there certain genres you want? Like because I feel like with indie film, especially something like I like movies. That's why I'm so grateful for stuff like A24 and like Neon, like these company like Bleecker Street, that are putting out indie films that I think a lot of people unfortunately just might not hit their radar. Are there
Yes.
certain being a woman in the industry, do you want to do certain like would you want to do more, like would you lean more towards like maybe horror? Would you maybe want to do are there certain genres you want to kind of inhabit? Or
My favorite is dark comedy. It's my
nice.
favorite.
Okay.
Where we can like dig into something so darkly human, like the parts that are like shameful and perverse, whatever. But you can twist it with like a sense of humor. It's my favorite. Like what better way for us to relate to one another and not be stuck in some weird shame spiral? Just watch, you know what I mean? That's my
Yeah.
favorite. That's my favorite genre to date. Yeah.
Do you have a dark comedy that you like kind of go toward? So like my point of reference or one of them is Death to Smoochie. Like that's where my brain automatically goes to.
Uh,
Like yeah, like what do you
oh man. I just feel like there are so many. I just shot a movie that was it's the darkest subject matter that I've come across. And this filmmaker I've worked with before, who's a genius, Charles Stevens, she wrote this script for me. And believe it or not, it is a dark comedy approach to suicide and
oh
and
shit. Okay.
and planning suicide, and like high achieving people and their isms. So anyway, that I know that's not what you asked me,
No, you're good.
um,
No.
but I'm just thinking of the sort of stuff that I'm drawn to, and I guess that's an example of it.
Okay. I will say too, just thinking about there's a new show that you'd probably like called Laid on Peacock. That's really great.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so you should check that out too. I got about halfway through and I'm really digging that.
really? Yeah,
So
that's on
yeah,
my list.
so just bump that up the list a little bit.
100.
Um Romina, thank you so much for stopping by and
You're
thank you so
lovely.
I thank Thank you. That I honestly I really needed that today.
Oh, good. You
So so
are.
so thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Before I let you go, if you could please tell people where they can find you on socials, what you have coming up, so they can go ahead and yeah, keep track of you.
for sure. So you can find me on Instagram under Romina D'Ugo at Romina D'Ugo, or and then you can find my jewelry brand there too. In case you're curious from like our conversation, it's linked in there
I
too.
checked out some of the pieces. It's good stuff. Check it out, people.
Ah, that's so nice. Thank you. That's so nice. And then if you're in LA or making a trip out to LA, February 20th to 26th is Slam Dance Independent Film Festival, where all the stuff
I'm
we're talking about.
I might be there. I might be. I'm trying to get there. I might be there.
Okay. Well, if you're there, please DM me and
I
I'll
will.
try to hook you up with a ticket. We have this film that is amazing, dark horror comedy called Portal to Hell. Woody
Oh,
Best
okay.
directed, wrote, and created it. He's he's amazing. Keith David is in it. Richard Kind, Michael McDonald, myself, and Trey Holland. And it's making its premiere at Slam Dance that
Hell yeah.
week. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and that's February. Tell the people again. That's
February
February.
20th to 26th, but they're just announcing what day exactly everyone's film is exactly on. So maybe just check their schedule and I'll post it on my social as well. End
All
of
right,
February.
perfect, people. So yeah, keep an eye out for all that, and please follow Romina on socials. Again, check out I Like Movies. That's on VOD right now. I think I paid $3 to rent it. It is well worth. It's well more than that, and it's well worth your time. So, Romina, again, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for your time, and I can't wait to see what you do next. And please stay safe out there and take care of yourself.
Oh, thank you. Same to you. Really appreciate you.
Cheers.
All right. Ciao.